Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today it's a very special day. Today we are celebrating 500 interviews on the show so far. My God, that's so beautiful, that's amazing, it's a beautiful feeling. Thanks so much for all of you who has been supporting the show all the way since we started in 2020. Thanks so much, it's been a beautiful journey, and I couldn't do it without you. So thanks so much for being watching the show, for being supporting the show as well. And to celebrate this special occasion, we're going to have someone very special. His name is Chris, and he's from New York. And in the end of the interview, he made me cry a little bit. I got very emotional. So thank you so much for the support, and let's enjoy the interview. Thank you so much. See, oh yeah, now I can see you. Let's see. How are you today, Chris? How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, William. How are you doing?
Very well. Thanks so much. Thanks for taking the time on Saturday for the interview. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
So, Chris, so tell me, where are you from?
New York City.
Born and raised?
No, well, no, I've been here for 20 years. I was born in New Jersey, across the river, but I moved out of there when I was 3 years old, and then we went to. Sorry, I'm gonna this phone up. I moved out of Jersey when I was 3 years old, and then we went to Massachusetts. So I was a New England boy. I grew up mostly in Massachusetts.
I see. And what's the best part of living in New York?
Oh God, there's so many good things about living in New York City. It's funny, I never really thought I'd want to live in New York City when I was a child. A lot of people did, a lot of my friends did, but I didn't. I was happily in Boston for a while, which is where I grew up around Boston. And as a young adult, I was in Chicago and Boston, and I was very happy in Boston. But I fell in love with a man who got a job in New York City. And after spending a summer with him in Provincetown, I moved to the city and have fallen in love with it. Like there's just the energy here. I think the best thing about New York City is the energy of this city. Every time I walk out of we live on 23rd Street, and every time I walk out of my apartment, it's so vibrant. You know, there's just so many different types of people, even on a day like today where it's 12 degrees Fahrenheit and the wind chill of 0. People are bustling around and people are smiling, and it's just there's just a lot of humanity here that you can't avoid because you don't drive in the city, you walk everywhere. And well, it's sort of similar to London. Are you in London?
Yeah. Yes.
So I mean, London's very similar in that way, and also like London, I love the arts in this city. I'm a big theater fan, and I love Broadway. And since Broadway's come back, I've seen 6 Broadway shows, I think,
Wow.
and I really want to give back to that community, you know, because they've been so devastated by the lockdown and. So yeah, I love this place.
It's funny, you mentioned about Provincetown, and I've been there. The last time I went to the US was 3 years ago. I went to visit my friend in Canada, in Montreal. So, and I met another friend, and we drove all the way to Boston. We spent a few days there, and we went to Provincetown. And actually, before going there, I never heard about that before, and not either my friend. And he said to me, William, when I said to another friend that I was going to Boston, he was like, you need to go to Provincetown. You need to go. And actually, it's the gayest place I ever been in my life.
Yeah. It's also, it's also a Portuguese fishing village. That's what it was. It was a whaling community. A lot of Portuguese, because I'm of Portuguese descent. So a lot of Portuguese, especially from the Azores. Do you know the Azores you probably know, are right off of, they're like 500 miles from Lisbon and 900 miles from New York. So the Azores are like in the middle of the Atlantic, and the whaling ships would stop in the Azores to restock, and they'd also get cheap labor on their boat, Azorians, and come back to Provincetown. So there's a whole Portuguese, that's why you see so many Portuguese flags when you're in Provincetown. You see more Portuguese flags and gay pride flags than you see American flags. I love it there. My husband and I got married there.
Oh, wow. Very interesting. I got to see a little bit of the Kennedy's, the museum as well. And yeah, it was a lovely time. And what do you do for a living, Chris?
My main career right now, I have lots of things kind of going on. Another reason why I love New York City is you don't have to choose one thing, you know. But my main thing is I'm a post-production producer for television series, which means everything. I'm the head of the post-production department, and the post-production department on a show is responsible for everything once the dailies from that day are done and sent to the lab, and until the final episode is sent to the network or streamer. And so it's very creative. It can be stressful, but I love it. Even when it's stressful, I love it. I love getting paid to do something that is truly something I love, you know, to tell stories. And right now I'm working on a show for Apple Plus called See, S-E-E. It's with Jason Momoa, and Dave Bautista was in it, season 2. I'm working on season 3 now, but it's a big show, lots of visual effects, keeps me very busy.
So what do you like the most about your job?
I love the creative process, and my main responsibilities, being the head of the department, aren't the details. It's the big picture of how do we make this show look and sound as best as it possibly can. And so I love being responsible for the outcome of a show, of the showrunner's vision, right? The showrunner's the head creative in the show, and I help him bring to life his idea. And I love having the ability to do that.
Very good. Very good. So through the game, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your career as well. But before we start our journey, really in the magic box, I would like to tell me something interesting about yourself.
Tell you something interesting about myself?
Yeah.
Lately, I've been doing a lot of art modeling, which you may have seen on my Instagram.
Yes, I check it out.
And I love it. It just has started within the pandemic, but I love being naked, so that's easy. And I love seeing different artists interpret the poses I do, and I love the connection that happens on Zoom. It's often on Zoom. That connection that happens between the artist and myself. Like as he's sketching me, I'm talking to him and learning things about him, and he's learning things about me. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Very interesting for sure. I was checking out a little bit of your the artwork, and I was fascinated about. I think, as you said, you can see the connection between you and the artist as well. You know what I mean? I think when the connection is there, it's visible.
I can't believe some of the talented people I have met, just through that Instagram page and a lot of it, like I said, there are people all over the world. And I just feel so grateful to have these artists in my life.
It's a shame that I didn't know. If I knew that you love being naked, I would ask you to come naked for the interview. I'm joking.
I'll do it.
Oh dear, it would be like how to say, we'll explode around.
Right. It might get you kicked off of YouTube though.
Really, the magic box would be like explode #1. Chris, so are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views? Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I've got here. lovely friend, full of random questions, okay? I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to move a little bit before the first question.
Okay.
Let's do it. Yes, you can help me dance. Good one. Right, Chris, so just before we start the game, so through the journey, if there is a question that you don't have an answer for, you don't want to answer for some reason, always can change, okay? So very friendly.
Okay.
First question for you is, what do you consider most romantic?
What do I consider most romantic? Honesty. I feel like when someone is able to truly be themselves with me, vulnerable and honest and not trying to be something that they're not, I find that connection that happens and that situation incredibly romantic, because it's such a strong bond that can form between human beings. And you know, I'm talking about my husband, who I've been with for almost 25 years, but I'm also talking about other people I've met in my life and I've had, you know, such a strong connection with. And sometimes it's physical, you know, and but the love, I don't know, I don't think that romanticism is just meant to be between lovers. I think there's things that, you know, can be romantic between friends. And, you know, I have friends whose hand I hold walking down the street because I'm just so connected to them. And it, you know, that's a romantic gesture, but we don't have sex. It's just, it's a way of expressing that connection and that closeness. I find that really romantic.
In saying that, in your opinion, what's the most romantic thing someone has ever done for you, if you can think of something?
Let's see. My husband's done so many romantic things. The one that most surprised me is in Provincetown in 1998. We spent the summer there. Before I moved to New York City, I was still living in Boston. And he was about to leave at the end of this. We had spent the whole summer together, falling deeply in love in Provincetown. And he had to leave to go to New York City to start a new job. And we're walking along the beach on his last night in Provincetown. And out of nowhere, he says to me, "Chris, will you marry me?" And I'd only known him for not even a year. And I looked at him and I said, "Why are you laying this on me right now?" Which is like the least romantic response I possibly could have given. Because I was in my head about, oh my God, he's leaving, and what am I going to do? And do I have to go to New York? And what's going to happen? And am I going to be able to get work in New York City? Like, that's where my head was at. And then he just broke it with, "Will you marry me?" And that's what I said in response. I ended up marrying him, but I didn't say yes at that moment.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful story. Next question. Yes, good one. Next question for you is, what is the best gift have you ever received, and from whom?
I know this. It was the gift of my career that my husband, Brad, gave me about 7-8 years ago. He was in TV production for years. That's the job he went away to in 1998. And he has worked his way up in the TV production world. And I was in advertising for 27 years and I was very unhappy. I wasn't connected to the creativity. I liked the people, but I was jaded and I wasn't happy going to work, and I was trapped, and they were paying me a lot of money and I felt like I couldn't leave. And he hired me away from that. It was a Showtime series. He spoke to the head of post at Showtime and said, "Listen, I want to bring my husband. I know this sounds strange. I'm hiring my husband, but He's really talented. He has all the skills needed because he's been producing TV commercials. And we just happened to be working on a show about a man in advertising that wanted to get out of advertising. So, and the showrunner was a former advertising exec. So he and I connected on that. And that was the biggest change in my adult life, is to no longer go to the corporate world of an advertising agency and the corporate clients involved there, but just work in productions with really talented people who are at the top of their game, where everyone loves what they're doing. You know, people in advertising didn't love what they were doing. People in TV and film love what they're doing, and it shows, and it's such a great environment. And I've been so happy since I made that change. And I would not have been able to do it without my husband giving me that gift for that first show. So that's it.
Beautiful. Good one. He'll be very happy to know that. I'm sure he does already anyway.
Yeah, I can't wait for him to see this.
But it's good for him to remind. He's going to be like, oh my God, now the whole world's going to know that.
Right.
Next question. Wow. Right, Chris. So just before the next question, and of course, I can see how much you love New York, but there's always a challenge time. And what's the most challenging part of living there?
I've lived through 9/11 and I've lived through COVID. This city was really devastated by both, right? Getting back in to New York City the day after 9/11, it was my husband's birthday on the 12th. And no one was going into New York City the day after those towers fell, except me. And literally, there was no one on the highway. There was no one going in. And there were police cars everywhere, like stopping everyone that went into the tunnel. And that was terrifying. I felt like, you know, I'm living, you know, New York City feels like a target sometimes. And it would never keep me from living here, but it's hard. It can be a stressful place. And I know a lot of people who left after 9/11. And a lot of people left after COVID. The city is finally starting to come back. And this new Omicron, unfortunately, you know, brought us back, you know, backwards a bit. But you know, this city goes through very difficult times, and it's going through one right now. There's a lot of empty storefronts. You know, it's a hard time for this city. But one of the things I love most about it are the people here who come together. You know, after 9/11, I'll never forget, on Brad's birthday on 9/11, it was the day after they fell, and we just wanted to get as close to the Twin Towers, to you know, the ground zero is what they called it. We couldn't get very close because obviously it was a war zone and it was blocked off, and it smelled so terrible. I'll never forget that smell. But I might cry. What we saw were New Yorkers that just wrote signs saying thank you, and cheering and applauding the first responders that were going in and out of that were risking their lives to save whoever they possibly could from that rubble. It made me so proud to be a New Yorker.
Wow.
Yeah.
And saying that, Chris, without you getting emotional about the day, tell me, where were you at the time when you find out about what happened with the towers? Walk me through the day.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I was on Fire Island. We have we rent a home. It's similar to P-Town. It's a gay resort area. It's not a tent, doesn't matter. It's more of a quiet resort community. And I was out there on 9/11, and Brad was already in the city because he had to work that day. I think it was a Tuesday, and his story is different. You know, he was in the city when he saw it happen. He saw the towers fall. I saw everything from television, like everyone else. I remember that my family was trying to get in touch with me, but all of the cell towers, it was just impossible. I couldn't get a hold of Brad. I couldn't, like, there was no communication.
Wow.
And it was a beautiful summer day. It was a late summer day, September 11th. And I remember at one point, my friend Warren and I, that was sharing the house with me at the time, because I said, let's just go watch the sunset. Because we had been around TV all day. We'd barely gone outside on this beautiful day because we just couldn't wrap our heads around what was happening. And we wanted to try to get a hold of our loved ones to say we're okay, see if Brad was okay. But we used to go to the end of this walk to see the sunset. And we went to the end of Beach Hill Walk to see the sunset. And we thought it would take us away, you know, that nature might take us away from the horror of that day. But what we saw was right where the sun was setting, a plume of smoke that looked like it was miles long. You know, and that was so, I have a photo of it. That was so sobering to see it on television is one thing, and then to go with your own eyes and watch your city burn is another. And I felt very much like I had to get back. I felt like my house was on fire. We lived with a very good view of the Twin Towers. We were in a different place then in Chelsea. And it was my husband's birthday, and I wanted to get back. And I didn't know, they had closed all the bridges and tunnels the day of 9/11, and there was varying reports about whether or not they were open the day after. So I put my golden retriever in the car, and I got in the car, and I remember I had Boston plates at the time, and the hijackers had flown out of Boston, and I thought, am I going to get stopped? Are they going to think I'm, you know, I don't live in New York? And I was so scared, and I'll never forget the highway out there, the LIE, the Long Island Expressway. As you come over a crest of the highway, you get to see the whole city spread out in front of you. And that was the first time that up close I saw the destruction, right? And right at that moment, a plastic bag, and there was no one on the road. I was the only car on the highway, either way. And a plastic bag just blew up, and it, blew in the wind in front of my windshield. It just went, which happens sometimes. I screamed. I was so nervous. I didn't, it just shocked me, right? And I finally was able to get through the tunnel. I was able to see my husband, and it all worked out. But it was a dark time.
Yeah, it was a day. I think the whole world was, the whole eyes and the whole world was in New York. And I remember I was back in Brazil at the time, and actually, where I come from, Brazil, we are the same time zone. Mm-hmm. So I remember like I was living with two flatmates, two friends of mine, and she came up to me and said, "Really, there's something happening in New York." And I was like, "It looks like a movie, there's nobody knows what's happening, and I couldn't believe as well. I was like, wow. And actually, this was in September, and next March when I moved to Portugal, 20 years ago. So yeah, it was a day too. I think the whole world stopped, and I'm sure there are a lot of stories out there of people. I had some guests on the show as well, live in New Jersey, and they kind of shared some moments as well at the time. And of course, I think everyone has a story to tell. And even though people living there, I think it's I'm sure emotional, and because when you see it's different, but when you are there, it's a different approach for sure. Even though you can be far or you're not, you know what I mean. But there is the energy around. It's something that
to think it was 20 years ago is It's just, I just can't believe 20 years has gone by.
I know. It feels like yesterday, like last week. You know what I mean? It's been so far. Anyway, better days. Let's hope. Next question, please. What's the best advice have you ever given?
I'm sober. I've been sober for this last period for a year and a half. But I've been in program for 15 years in AA. And I think the best advice I've given to recovering addicts or alcoholics is don't give up. I have so many times relapsed and I always came back because I knew I would die. And I've had friends that have died of this disease, that have overdosed, that have killed themselves. And so to share my story to other alcoholics, even though I'm not the guy who's like, I have 20 years sober. If I add it up all the time, I have about 7 years, but I've relapsed so many times, and I've always come back. And I used to think that I was a failure. I used to think that my story was of no use to anyone because I couldn't stay sober. But I've come to find that, in fact, my story does matter to people, and it does help people because they understand that if they do relapse as well, it's not the end, and that it's not failure to fall down. That is not a failure. The only failure is if you don't get back up again. So that's the best advice.
Good one. And I'm sure people watch this interview as well are going to appreciate you sharing this story. Thank you very much. Next one. Let's do it. Great dancer you are.
Sure dancing.
Next question for you is, what scares you the most about your future?
Losing my husband. That's my biggest fear. We've been together for 25 years almost, and our lives are so intertwined, and in a good way, and since this pandemic, this last 2 years where it's been mostly me and Brad and our dog, that's for everybody, right? Like it hasn't been a super social time for the world. And, and I think for some couples that cause problems. For us, I'm so grateful for this, but for us, it brought us closer. That we were able to just really rely on each other. We can make each other laugh. We're still sexually attracted to each other. It's all so good. And there's this part of me that, as grateful as I am for my life right now, that fear of it being taken away, right? That I wouldn't have control over that. And and one of us is going to die before the other, or we'll both die in a plane crash or something. It's going to happen. And I can't control that. But yeah, my biggest fear is to be left behind by Brad.
I think that the human being were not ready and not prepared to be alone, left alone. You know what I mean? I'm sure, like, I feel so happy to hear someone saying that as a gay couple for 25 years. It's like, wow, it's so nice to hear that, to see that, you know what I mean? The gay community, it's like a gold medal, you know what I
mean? Yeah.
So yeah, I have a few guests on the show as well that they've been in a long relationship, and I think it's just beautiful. You were talking about, I could see the shine, you know what I mean? You're saying how proud you are, how happy you are being in a relationship for so long, and beautiful to know, beautiful to see that.
It's the thing about love, though, right? Like, you love so deeply, and the deeper you love, the more you have to lose, it feels, right? Sometimes, like, and I don't worry about us leaving each other. We're our soulmates. We're going to be, but, yeah, I worry about the inevitable, right?
Don't worry too much.
I don't. I mean, listen, I don't spend my days fretting
I know,
at
of course.
all. I enjoy my life, but you
You're
asked me
just,
what my biggest fear is.
of course, not
Yeah.
me. I think, yeah, of course. You were just sharing a moment based on the question.
Yep.
For sure. Next one. Wow, I wish I could have a chair to do the same as well. Chris, before the next one, I want to think about Boston, where you grew up in Boston. What's the best memories you have from there?
Cape Cod, I have this memory of going to West Dennis Beach on Cape Cod, which is, Cape Cod's like an arm, and P-Town's up here, Chatham's here, and West Dennis is just before you get to Chatham. And I just had this memory of going to this cove and it just teeming with ocean life. And these birds, like there were crabs and all sorts of stuff. And as a kid, I was so fascinated by all of it, crashing up against the rocks. And then there were eels swimming in the water, and the birds were coming down and grabbing the eels. And then they drop the eels in the rock and try to get them before they went back in the water so they could eat them. And I wonder what that cove is like today. My assumption would be that wildlife is not there, because we've built up and we've pushed away a lot of that. But that memory on the Cape, we went there a few times, but it just felt like magic. Yeah, I have a lot of good memories from my childhood, but that one always pops up.
Good for you. Next question for you is, what made you laugh this week or this month? Something genuinely.
What's coming? Sometimes people just truly being themselves makes me laugh. And I have a good friend who's in program with me. I won't mention his name, but he is constantly getting in his head, right, about things like we do as human beings. But he just he's so defiantly that way that when he tells me, we were at the gym and he told me oh, I'm gonna have and it actually, he was sharing with me honestly about his vulnerability, but because it was such a part of who he is, that I love, it just made me laugh out loud, and he knew I wasn't laughing at him, but I was laughing at the recognition of this person and how we're all just who we are. I have a comedy group. Another thing I have going on is a comedy group. We have our own channel on YouTube. It's called Logic Limited, and we're an improv clown group, and they always make me laugh. There's 5 of us, and we do a series on YouTube called Zoom, 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 which and my character hosts it, Philip O'Hara, and we talk about current events, and we're all idiots. We're all clowns, except for one guy who really knows the current events. He's the straight man, and we make each other laugh. It's we've been working together for so long, and I love that family, my clown family, and how they see me, as a funny person, as I see them. Because I don't think everybody does see me that way, but they do. And they, it's this safe space to be stupid and risk not being funny. But even when somebody fails at being funny, can be hilarious. It's to watch somebody stumble is very, very funny. So I hope that answered your question. But,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think laugh, you know what I mean? Those not expecting situations is always the most genuine laugh that we had, for sure.
There was someone said, because I took a stand-up class, I've done a little bit of stand-up. I don't actually enjoy stand-up very much. I prefer improv theater and clown, but because it involves other people. Stand-up is very lonely because it's just you up there. But I have a lot of respect for it, but I'm not very good at it. The idea of comedy is hearing the truth faster than what we're accustomed to, you know, which I think is really an interesting way to define what comedy is. It's so often, you know, just like this truth that we all know, but it hasn't been spoken exactly this way by anyone. And we can all laugh because we recognize it. It's laughter of recognition of how the absurdity of something. So it's true. They're true things that make us laugh, right? It's just they come at us like a bullet, like we just didn't expect it. That's what made me, when you said the best laughter is when you don't expect it, that made me think of that quote.
Next question. Chris from New York. Next question is about laughing again. I'm going to change this one. What is your favorite TV show?
Well, I have so many favorite TV shows. I'm not saying this is my favorite, but I just finished Station 11 on HBO, and it's fantastic. It's a post-apocalyptic show about a pandemic that kills the entire world. Everybody dies, except a very small fraction, and it's about those people. And it follows this traveling band of actors and musicians that do Shakespeare. And that's how they want to bring art to this world. And I find that so beautiful. But I think my favorite, if I had to pick one show that was my favorite show, I think it's 6 Feet Under. There was something about that show and those characters, and the way each episode started with a death, and just getting to know characters through death, like dealing with death in sometimes a lighthearted way, sometimes really serious. That show talked about things that we don't often talk about, you know, that people are so afraid to talk about the end, right? And in the series finale, it was so good, and it showed in the last images of that show, showed every single one of those characters that you loved. It showed their death, one at a time. And, you know, like I was talking about earlier, with my biggest fear, right? It's like, you know, does death really need to be that scary? We're all gonna die, you know? And, you know, that show, I think, for me, alleviated some of that darkness around death, right? So I love that show. I also love Nurse Jackie. It's a show about an addict, a nurse, a mom, and an addict, and it was told so well. Brad worked on that show for the entire run, from the pilot to the last episode, and that's another series that ended really well. Like, a lot of series go on too long, and by the time they end, like a good example of this is True Blood, which is also an HBO show, which is the same, you know, some of the same people that did 6 Feet Under, and it was so good the first 3 seasons, and then it just tanked. It was so bad by the time they ended it. And Nurse Jackie ended on a very sad note, but it was an honest one, because the story was about an addict, and that's often how addict stories end. But it was also really funny along the way. I like comedy that is dark, that has a dark edge to it.
Good. Chris, I have 3 questions left for you. Let's do it. Wow, it's getting better and better. Next question for you is, about romantic again. I'm gonna change this one. You talk about it already. What does success mean to you?
Success means living as authentically as I can in every aspect of my life. To not have to put on a show to anyone. This is me. You know, to be able to do what I love and to show up at work completely me, you know, completely who I am, to be able to help inspire people around me, to help. Sometimes I'm helping soothe difficult situations at work. But you know, so that's it. To love what you do and do it with all your heart, and to have friends that are like family, to have family close by, and to be connected, as authentically connected to people in my life as much as I can, because again, I feel like there's this weird thing about death coming up, but we don't know. If I learned one thing over these past 2 years with this pandemic, and I know a lot of people that lost people, and I lost some people in the past 2 years, is that we never know how much time we have. So success is spending that time well, you know, and that, to me, that means not necessarily a ton of vacations or having a ton of money or wearing the best clothes or driving the best car. It's spending the time with the people that mean the most to me. And, you know, I don't want to regret, you know, and as a drug addict, I spent a lot of time that wasn't very productive. It wasn't with my friends, and you know, and I never want to go back to that. I want to feel every emotion, and I want to escape from them, even if they're hard. And I want to be there for my inner circle. You know, I want the people I'm closest to in this world, and I'm so blessed to have that. That feels like success too. Friends I've had since, you know, junior high school that are still so close to me.
Oh,
Yes, yeah.
Sweet, very sweet. 2 questions left.
Okay.
Let's do it. Wow, you know what? You're not gonna believe. You're not gonna believe. I need to tell you something now. You're not gonna believe. Before now, I was about to ask you about your journey as naked posing for artists, and I was about to say, can you answer this question without your top? And you're already took
See, we were meant to meet, my friend. We were meant to do this, William. It was meant to be. I knew that. I really honestly felt that, because people were like, what is this interview you're doing? And I'm like, it's a guy named William, and you have such a warmth about you. And I'm just like, I looked at some of what you did, and I'm like, of course I'm going to say yes to that. Like, look at that smile. Look at your smile. So that's hilarious.
You're not gonna, seriously, I swear to God, I was about to say, I'm gonna ask him to answer this question without his top, because you're so comfortable being naked without top. Yes. Anyway, you read my mind. We are connected somehow. Anyway, saying that, so tell me a little bit about how we started your journey posing naked for artists.
I first did it about 10 years ago for a group out in the Pines on Fire Island called Pines Nude Drawing. My friend Carlos runs it, Carlos Pisco, and it's a lovely group of men. It's so relaxed. I pose for them at least once a year, this summer, usually twice. And it's so relaxing because it's always out on somebody's deck or outside by the beach. And I just, you know, so it's this lovely conversation that goes on. And I love I do. I'm naked all the time out on Fire Island, especially, and so it's not at all uncomfortable. So there's not this weirdness that I feel. But they are the ones I started with, and that's all I did until the pandemic. The only group I posed for was Pine's New Drawing, and it was only in the summer. And then something happened during the pandemic where everything was suddenly online, and I started getting invitations to pose for groups. Like I'm doing one Tuesday night for a group in San Francisco. So I'll be here, you know, and naked and with a light on because it's late at night. And hopefully, you know, the neighbors across the way here are always seeing me naked, so I hope they're okay with that. And you know, it is. It just blew up, and so I started that a separate, Instagram page specifically for this artwork, this nude modeling, and you know, you got to be careful on Instagram because they'll kick you off if you're too racy, but. And I would never put that stuff on my regular Instagram because it's my career, it's my family, and my nieces. It's not. I'm not ashamed of it, but it just might be a lot. It might be too much for a lot of people. So now that I have this separate expression with the muscle model IG, I have this place to share this incredible artwork, and now I've met so many wonderful artists all over the world, and it's just become this other, avocation. It's something that's creative. I'm a little bit of an exhibitionist, so not actually probably a lot of an exhibitionist, but so it fulfills that kind of fantasy in a way, but it's way more than that. It's, again, the best thing about it is the connection between the artists. Just like what we're doing right now, connecting, is what I do with these artists while they're drawing me. And it's amazing to me because they make these incredible drawings while they're chatting with me. And I asked them, like, how do you talk to me while you're creating this incredible art? And they were like, it's different parts of your brain. The part of my brain that's chatting with you is not the part of my brain that I'm using to create this art, which I find fascinating too.
Very fascinating, for sure. Next one. What's your parents' deeds that comforted you the most?
What did they do that comforted me the most? They were always supportive of my interests. I felt, as a younger child, I felt forced into Little League baseball and soccer because my dad was the coach, and I hated it so much. I used to dread spring because that meant Little League was starting. I had to do it, and I was bad at it, and I didn't want to do it. And then, when I got into high school and I started to come into my own, and I got very involved with the theater group there, they went to I was in a lot of school plays. I was the kid in all the school plays, and they came to every single one. And there's one story in particular that was very comforting. It's about my dad. But we had one director who was very temperamental, and he would flare up. And we were, to be honest, we were precocious little kids. He probably had a right to be fed up with me, but we did something where we rented our own costumes, even though he wanted our parents to sew these cheap costumes together. And we're like, no, we're gonna go there was a woman in town who rented really good costumes, like medieval costumes. And so I put them on, and he came up to me, the director, on stage, and yelled at me and raised his hand as if he was gonna hit me. And he didn't, but the rest of the cast was like, what is going on here? He held himself back. I went home and I told my parents that. My dad, the very next day, went to rehearsal, which he never does. Parents don't go to rehearsals. And he just sat quietly in the audience, watching the rehearsal. Never said a word to Bart. Bartholomew was the name of the director, teacher. He didn't confront him. but he just his presence there meant so much to me, because he was clearly saying, "Don't my son," right? I have goosebumps. But yeah.
My God, that's very powerful. My goodness, my God, I think that just his presence there just made him realize, okay, I'm here, do it again. Don't you dare to even think about doing it again.
Yeah. That's all he had to do, is just his presence was enough. And I just thought that was so protective, right, of a father. It was such a good, strong father moment, and I'll always love him for that.
Beautiful. Chris, ready for the last one? Let's do it.
Okay.
Good dancer you are. But before the last question, Chris, as you mentioned about being sober and about your addiction in the past, you just made me remember now. I had an interview with someone from Texas, and he said something quite interesting. He said that doing a program that he was doing to get sober as well, he mentioned a situation that somebody said that one day one person told him that he needed every drink he had in the past to get him where he is right now. What do you believe in that phrase? What do your thoughts about that?
Well, it's about regret, right? Am I going to regret all the drugs I did and assume that was all just wasted time, which frankly a lot of it was, but all of the relapses, all of the mistakes, everything that's happened in my life has created who you're talking to right now. And, would I be this same person right now had I not gotten addicted, had I not gone through recovery for 15 years, had I not done the steps a couple of times? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but my guess is probably not, and I think that the scars that are, and I'm not even obviously talking about emotional scars or, the trauma, because there's definitely been trauma, mostly imposed by myself. I'm not blaming anybody. The trauma was all I did to traumatize myself. But, I think it's made me stronger. It's made me more sympathetic. I think I'm a better listener. And so, yeah, that idea of every drink led me to the person I am right now. In meetings, I hear all the time, I'm so grateful that I'm an alcoholic. I hear that a lot. And that's what they're saying is this dark time that I went through turned me into a different person and a version of myself that I actually I like better than before. So yeah, I agree with the guy from Texas.
Right. What makes you the happiest?
What makes me the happiest? Being naked. No, I'm kidding. It does make me happy, but spending time with my husband and my friends in the summer on the beach, and then, with our dog, with our golden retriever, just loving the beach so much. That joy. I'm very much a summer guy, and so is Brad. And we love our summers, and we're out on the beach every weekend. And we have this beautiful home that we rent. We don't own it, but it's like, we call it our Howard's End. It's been such a haven for us, especially during the pandemic, because we lived there for 6 months because we didn't want to be in the city. And so yeah, it's warm weather and relaxed time, probably very little clothing, if any, and people I love, and my dog.
Beautiful. Very beautiful. Chris, not the end yet. Okay, let's play now the word association game. I'm going to give away some words, and you just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay? Let's start with family.
Home.
Money.
I know this is supposed to be fast, damn it. Money, career.
One word for love. Love.
Essential.
One word for life.
Long.
How about sex?
I'm bad at this game because I think too much. Sex, lust.
Okay. One word for politics.
Boring.
That was a very quick answer.
Unlike the others.
One word for religion.
Tricky.
Fear.
Inevitable.
Friendship.
Essential.
Desire.
Wonderful.
Regrets.
Useless.
When I said desire, you said wonderful. I could see you're losing your lot in your thoughts. One word for success.
Authentic.
One word for wish.
Prayer.
One word for happiness.
Contentment.
New York City. One word.
Thriving.
And the last one now, USA. One word.
Troubled.
Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your lovely husband for a coffee, and I'm going to ask him, for these 25 years, what is the most beautiful thing about Chris? And during these 25 years, what's something that he still needs to improve on, to work on?
Wow, that's a good question, William. I'm gonna answer the second one first. The thing that he would say I still need to work on is being less selfish. Being more considerate of him and of the our home. We have a lot of we have a lot of stuff to kind of run in our home. We also just started a business, which is what this space is. So, and he is so often doing the lion's share of the work. I know he does. He'll agree with this. And so, and I'm changing that dynamic, but I do tend to stray from that. And he would say that that's something that and I'm probably going to work on that my whole life. As far as what he loves the most, I would like for him to say my loyalty. I haven't always treated him or my closest friends well because I'm a recovering addict, but I am very ferociously loyal to the people in my life that matter to me. And I would do anything for them. And that's another reason to stay sober is I can't achieve that if I'm not, right? For me, I just talk about selfish. As soon as I have a drug in me, I don't care about anybody else. I hope he would say my loyalty to the people in our life.
Very good. Beautiful answer. Chris, so let's play now. Chris and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. But before that, I'd like to see you dance one more time.
Okay.
When I come to New York for the second time, I know who I'm gonna call to show me around and to take me to dance.
Absolutely, yes, please do. I never go to bars anymore, but I don't even know where people go out. in the city anymore, but I will
No,
definitely
I
show you
didn't,
some fun places.
I didn't mean that. I meant to dance with you.
Oh, okay,
Joking.
yeah, we're just here. We can dance here. Okay.
I'm joking.
It's a date, William. I would love that. I do have a question I want
Right.
to ask.
So you can ask me a question.
Yeah, here's what I want to ask. It's going to start with a description of you and why I'm here. And I've mentioned this already, but you exude this incredible warmth and joy for life. There's so much positivity coming from you. I can feel it through the screen. So what is it about the way you were brought up? What led to this? Why is this what I see most about you?
Oh, I'm gonna cry now. Seriously, you made me cry now. Oh my God, Chris, I got goosebumps now. My goodness, thanks so much for saying that. My goodness, seriously.
It's true.
You got me crying now. Oh dear. Oh my God, I'm literally like crying now. Oh my God, this is oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I've done already 500 interviews and no one got me to this stage. My goodness.
I'm honored.
All right. Anyway, oh my God, thanks for the compliment. My goodness, it's sorry. Oh my God. I think that. Oh my God, Chris. It's. I think I'm the luckiest person in the whole world. I don't think. I'm sure. I think I think other lives, I must have done a lot of good things for people, I believe, because I feel the most fortunate person in the whole world. I don't know, you know what I mean? I've been blessed. Like I come from a very simple family, you know what I mean? I as a child, I didn't have opportunities in my life, but if saying that, my parents always been very, you know what I mean? Let be myself as a child. They let me, you know, always be myself. I don't know, people say, you know what I mean? I had so many situations of people that had, like you said now, that they don't know me, and they literally show their love or their appreciation. And sometimes it keeps me think, my God, why is that? And when I was younger, I was trying to deal with that or try to understand. And as I said, I think that I wake up every day like feeling happy, just to be, you know what I mean, just to be alive and to be able to be myself and to be able to do mistakes and to be able to learn every day, to be able to share you know what I mean, emotions, and to share our life with, you know what I mean, with people. I think I try to be myself all the time, and I think, Chris, I think that's the basic that you can do. People gonna like you, people gonna dislike you because of that, but it's part of the journey as well. But I believe that I am myself, or try to be myself all the time. You know what I mean? I'm not afraid of being myself. I'm not afraid of what people gonna think or what people gonna, you know what I mean? Being not normal, it's a gift. Being silly, it's a gift. You know what I mean? Being childish, it's a gift of being yourself. So I believe that answer to your question, it's I think it's just the fact that I find myself as an approachable person. You know, I try not to judge. I try not to, you know what I mean, to see the good things in other people. You know, I feel the luckiest person in my life. I know people say that as well, but you know, when you feel it, like I feel like I'm the luckiest. And so yeah,
it was so beautiful to see what a beautiful answer. Truly, like, I want to add one other thing. You are so interested in humanity and other people. The fact that you have 500 of these, like that, because all you're doing is saying, show me who you are, right? That's what you're doing. That's what the show does. Let the people, let whoever follows you, let them see who you are. And what you just said about waking up and feeling lucky, and let me tell you, I haven't always felt that way. but I do now. I feel exactly the same way you do. And do you know how lucky we are? We are lucky men, and I am so grateful for that. And I can sense the great gratitude in you as well, for your life and for your family, and that's so important to me these days, is gratitude. That blew me away, your answer.
My God.
Thank you for your heartfelt emotion. And
no, thank you so much for first for being part of the show, for accepting my invitation. Thanks so much for be yourself. You know what I mean? I can see the real Chris in front of me. You know what I mean? I think people, when they are themselves, as I said before, people, even if they don't know you, they can feel it. They think for make me cry.
Thank you for crying, and because it made me cry too. And thank you for picking me. I don't know how that happened, but I'm just grateful that it did. And I'll say again, this was meant to happen. You and I were meant to have this talk. So thank you.
Absolutely. I'll meet you one day to give a proper hug and to be thankful.
Yes, and to dance in a room somewhere or outside.
Please, just before you go, I would like to share a positive message or a positive quote, something that inspires in life.
I'll just say my favorite Shakespeare quote, which happens to be on every coin that's given out in Alcoholics Anonymous. You get coins for every year that you're sober. This above all else, to thine own self be true. So much of what we are talking about is that.
Very good.
So I'll end with that.
All the regards for your lovely husband, for your friends, your family, and we keep in touch. We are connected now.
No, we have to keep in touch. I'm definitely keeping in touch with you. All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.